Accept who you are and go with it. It's that self-acceptance and being as self-aware as possible.
Welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. Before we get started on this episode, I would like to invite you to our community so that you can hear more stories to inspire change within your life and positive change within the systems in which we live. All I want you to do is to click on the subscribe button. Your comments mean the world to us with anything that's resonated with you, and I absolutely love your support. I can't wait to go on this journey alongside you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get into today's episode. Today we go into a deep dive with Cherelle Mitchell.
I'm Cherelle Mitchell and this is my tale to inspire.
Cherelle Mitchell, welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. Thank you so much for being a guest with us today. So, would you like to introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and we'll go from there?
Yes. Okay, so I am Cherelle Mitchell. Some people know me as Shez.
Shez, right. Shez it is, I love it.
So you can say Shez, Sheza, anything. Some people have actually said Shaniqua randomly. It's just madness. But I'm from a really small town in West Yorkshire, and I am one of 5. I have a trans brother, and I'm a gay woman. Now confidently out eventually. That took a while. I am going to kind of delve into that from the 2014 midlife crisis as well. And I am really passionate about education, always have been. Really passionate about fitness, health and well-being, and just how to look after yourself, essentially. That's what I've always been passionate about. And my biggest thing is helping others. But I also know that learned that I need to help myself so that I can hopefully help other people and inspire other people. And that's why I approached you, Krish, because I think sharing your stories is really, really cool. And like you say, it is like a big book. And if you've not read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, that's a really cool book to read as well, because I'm not going to give anything away about that book because you should just read it. It is like a self-help book, but the story is just brilliant.
It shows that your life can go down 1,000 different ways. And you come
of
back
course
to it.
You've read it, yeah, essentially, and I really like that. So my story is from a child. My mum wasn't well. She's got schizophrenia, which I didn't really understand as a child. And I think growing up, that was really difficult to understand why my mum was in and out of hospital. I was extremely anxious as a child just seeing that happen, because what happened was my siblings weren't very nice to me for a long time. And when I say weren't very nice to me, it was a lot of emotional abuse. And that came from the fact that they were bullied at school. And I had a counsellor in year 8 and 9, and no one really understood what was going on at that point. No one knew what was going on behind closed doors, because I was neglected in my room, and it was just me in my room a lot of the time, and I just felt really anxious. And then when my mum was actually around, she told me a lot of things, offloaded a lot of things, and was really paranoid. And that was my hero at that time. My mum was, even though she was schizophrenic, she had an illness, but I didn't understand that. I saw her as this amazing woman that gave me attention and love, and I loved that from her. But she also was looking to me to help her, which I didn't know when I was a child. So when I was a child, I was really anxious. I was wondering what on earth my mum was offloading on me, and I was taking that on, but I wanted to help her. I was like, I'm going to be a psychologist. I'm going to help everyone else that has also got a mental illness. And then the woman that used to come and walk her and take her for walks, I used to join, and I used to just be like, well, I end up like my mum. And she always used to say to me that, no, she's been through something traumatic herself, and that could be what's triggered something in her mind. And that was how I'd always sort of looked at that.
Can you explain a little bit about schizophrenia and what that is? And because some people may never have heard of it, or
schizophrenia is a mental illness, and some people that are obviously more qualified to give the definition would definitely give a better one than what I would. But the way that I see schizophrenia and my experience is that it's someone that sees the world in a very scary place. They might hear voices. They might feel that things are being tampered with. So my mum was really scared that we were being poisoned a lot of the time, and that used to obviously create anxiety within the household that, you know, water was going to be poisoned, that something bad would happen to us. So there was extreme levels of paranoia, which can make you do certain things, but it can also, it's ultimately because you're super scared that something's going to happen. And that could be, there's a lot of stories that I could go into with my mum, which I'm not going to do because I want to keep this from my perspective and my viewpoint of what that was like growing up. But she was in and out of hospital. So the hospital was there when, you know, the tablets weren't working, and there was a lot of tablets that she had to try to see which ones would be best for her. She's currently on a really good one at the moment that keeps her sane, and she's not been in hospital for about 13 years now, which is great, and she's doing really, really well. So we're all kind of on standby to look after her, and she's a lovely woman. You know, she's got a heart of gold, and that's where being kind to yourself, and as much as I feel guilty because I'm sad at the way that she is, it makes me feel bad. It makes me look to myself, am I going to be like that? And is that a problem? It shouldn't be. You know, I should look to her and think that's my bloody mum. She, you know, she's great, but, you know, she is that woman. And if anyone sees anyone on the streets in their pajamas and hair a little bit everywhere and not looking their best, you know, just think, like, because that is my mum in the streets. And I love it. She does not care at all. She just walks down the streets and she'll go get a milk and she'll walk back and you know, she's just got a smile on her face because, you know, that tablet is working for her and she doesn't see the world in this destructive way anymore. But growing up, seeing her that way as a child just made me really anxious and see the world in a way that was potentially going to cause harm. And it made me see things in different ways that I didn't quite understand. So when I did seek for a counsellor, I spoke a lot about my siblings and how they treated me. Yeah. And that was very much because they were bullied. So now I hate bullies because nobody understands what that's going to be like, that knock-on effect. They came home and bullied me because they were being bullied at school. And that wasn't a nice experience. When I've delved into it and I've done safeguarding myself as a teacher, it's very much around, there's neglect there, there's emotional abuse, there was a lot of comments that were said. And now I know that theme of not being good enough comes from that childhood trauma constantly. The anxiety that I do have to push through quite a lot now comes from this childhood, from my mum, from my siblings, and it's how I've changed my mindset to now think. From 2014, I actually approached my siblings and said, what on earth did I do wrong? Why? All that time, what did I do wrong? And I think...
To confront them on the reason that they bullied you?
Yeah. And
were you the youngest out of your siblings?
I was the youngest, and I've got my trans brother, was my sister. So she was great, and she's also seeking help at the moment, and she feels guilty because he now doesn't feel that he deserves counselling because he thinks that I should be the one that's getting all the attention and that he shouldn't even be there. So there's a knock-on effect again with my other sibling, that we're really, really, really close because he feels guilt of what was happening to me. And that was when I felt guilty that he was obviously then being affected by everything that I was going through. So when you're confronting them, is it in their face telling them why you're doing this? Is it by a letter? Is it a phone call? Like, how did you confront them? So I went to university and two of my siblings actually apologised to me, sent me a message. I remember when I think it was Freshers Week, and I got a message from one of my siblings just basically saying, I want to talk to you and apologise. And I was like, oh my goodness, and my heart just dropped because I didn't really know what they looked like. We lived in the same house, right? And I was never in the living room. I never watched TV. I never made food. It was always just me in my room with a lock on the door. That was it. And to then have them approach me and talk to me scared the shit out of me at that point, because I was like, why now? why are you apologising now? Because my younger self in all my diaries is like, if they ever talk to me when I'm older, don't talk back. And it was like my younger self was, scared, frightened, anxious, having panic attacks every night. And my mum was always there for me. And I think now looking back to that moment and those moments that was really, really dark, I've always seen the light. My friends have always been my hope and joy. My friends, I honestly don't know where I'd be. Like some of their mums as well. There's two in particular that I don't know where or who I'd be today if it wasn't for those people. So confronting them, it probably seems quite aggressive. So two of them actually approached me and said that they wanted to talk to me. Me and my brother bonded, my elder brother, bonded over the gym fitness. So we actually built a relationship. And now I feel really bad because they feel bad. And, they've both broken down on me and just said, if you don't want to talk to us ever, we understand. And that's enough for me, but I still feel bad for them because they're getting help themselves now. And they're fighting their own demons, which I can accept. There's another sibling that's fighting their own demons that hasn't yet apologised, but that's the one that I needed more answers from because apparently that was the ringleader, let's say. And once I actually got the help that I needed, spoke to the counsellor and understood what it is that I needed to do to feel better in myself and to understand the full picture, I wanted to really, really just ask the questions. And I approached her, I'm at university, so I go into the living room that I didn't even really know. I never was in that living room, but I grew up in this house. And she's just lying on the couch and I was thinking, God, is that what colour of hair she's got? Is that her eyes? Like, it was really strange to then look her in the eye because it was always me creeping around the corridors away, just so that I was never in their way. Otherwise, anyway. So I just said, what did I do wrong? I said, I'm getting counselling. What did I do wrong all those years for you to treat me the way that you did? And she just kept reeling off random things that was, you got more attention, you got more this, you got more that. And I said, what do you mean attention? Because I was never in the living room with you. I was never around the dinner table. I was never there on Christmas. I went, what do you mean attention? And the more she was talking, she was stuttering. She had no idea why. And I was just thinking, I then felt better in myself. So I was just approaching it. And I just said, okay, but why? I said, okay, even if I did get more attention, what gives you the right to do all of the things and to be the way that you were to make me feel like that? I said, I don't understand. You need to help me understand that. And then I said, I'm seeing a counsellor, and she said this. Does that mean this? And we ended up having a good conversation. I said, we don't need to have a relationship, but for me to feel better, and I'm assuming for you to feel better, let's just talk about it. Is there anything that I've actually done to you? And she couldn't say anything. There was nothing. And all of a sudden this big light just shone out of me, and I was just thinking, all those years I haven't done anything wrong to be treated that way. And even though there was no apology from that particular sibling, she is fighting her own demons at the moment because of how she sees the illness of my mum. And I understand that. I really do. And I just don't, we could say that it's cowardly, that it's nasty on my mum, and my mum really wants this relationship with her, but she sees my mum as a schizophrenic person and chooses not to, because maybe she's got her own views of that and how it makes her feel, and maybe she's trying to help herself in some way, I don't know. That's her story to tell. But from my perspective, seeking help to actually understand what it was that was then affecting me, being self-destructive and having this negative relationship with the gym, something that is a big hobby of mine, then that was where I needed to make sure that I was okay, and that I needed to understand more about myself and where my past had led me and how I feel, And that was affecting my relationships because I was just constantly feeling anxious and saying to myself, no, I need to be better at this. I need to read up on this. I need to do better in my degree. I need to do it. It was exhausting. And that was when my friends were saying, you need help. Like, I was lying to people about, you know, what I was doing. I just either wanted to be studying or in the gym because I needed to be better. And that wasn't okay because I wasn't being kind to myself. I was absolutely exhausted. And then from then on, that's when the 2014 thing happened and everything felt okay.
So just as a 2 points I want to ask really about here is, do you have anger, hatred toward your siblings, or maybe not the ones who have apologized, or maybe you do, or maybe not even the one that who's like not apologized to you? Do you feel anything for that punishment that you received over those years? And the second question that I kind of want to go down there, actually no, let's go with that question and I can delve into. Yeah, so how do you feel towards those people who caused you such suffering?
I'm disappointed, and for the sake of my younger self, I hate them. For the sake of my younger self. Now, I don't hate them. I'm upset. I feel really guilty for them and what bullies have done to them and the knock-on effect, because that's not their fault either. They'll have a story to tell. And they were hurt. I think my mum probably impacted quite a lot of that as well. My mum was always there for me as well because she didn't know what to do and split herself between the two, and she wasn't well herself. And they could have seen that as she's given Cherelle more attention. And, you know, we're all children at the end of the day. So I think understanding it now, there's no hate, there's no anger. There's just more, I feel bad, I'm sympathetic. And there's a lot of empathy there, and they are getting help. And that's the best thing for them, definitely. So in 2014, we talked about moments, and would you have carried on being kind if things carried on forever? So if your two siblings never sent you a message and said, I want to speak, Cherelle, want to speak to you about this. If that moment never happened, would you have ever, even if you was taking counselling, if they didn't make that first move to have that conversation, would you have made that first move to have that conversation, or would you have just let it slip under the pillow or under the carpet and just let it go? I think I would have approached them, because through that counselling I needed answers, and I needed to understand more about what it was that made them act that way. Because deep down in me, there was always something that I'd done, even though I had no idea. There was nothing that I could think. I was like, have I done something as a child? And I used to just think like there must be something in me. I'm a bad person. I'm this, and I was always second guessing. Am I nasty? Is it just me? And then I started to think about my skin, the way that I look. It was really, really weird the way that I was then looking at myself. So I think I would have definitely approached them. And people always say to me, why don't you just go in the living room? And I was like, you just don't get it. Yeah. Well, they've not got that lived experience of what you've been through. No. To understand how you feel, right? And my younger self, you asked how I felt, that younger self was petrified. I was absolutely frightened. And I used to think that I'd wake up in like a blood pool of some sort. And that could have been my mind overthinking. Because, you know, now knowing them properly, well, a little bit more, it's, you know, I don't think that would have ever happened. So why was my mind thinking that it was this unknown? But ultimately, it is just that communication. You know, why didn't my parents just sit us down and just all have a nice chat? You know, my dad was working away. He's a role model that I look up to. I've only just started to have a relationship with him properly, really, because he was so busy. He just wanted to make sure we all had food on the table. From his perspective, that's all he wanted. So, you know, he might feel guilty that he let this happen, but he didn't. He was just trying to make sure we were all fed. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all were fed. And that's what I need to think about, and had I have been, you know, friends with my siblings, I wouldn't be this bubbly person that I am today, where, you know, my friends and their mums and the amazing memories that I've got with my friends and the people around me, you know, that would be non-existent to some degree. And I'm really appreciative of that.
So 2014, you had this moment. Where does your journey go from there?
So 2014, I kind of sat down with the problems, the childhood traumas. I then also never told my counsellor this. I knew that I was in denial about being gay. I did not want to be gay at all. I was a completely different person, this version of myself. And I think my sexuality, I don't know if this is too complex to say, actually has helped with all of this childhood stuff, because that person wasn't me. I was in denial all the way up until 2014 about my sexuality. I was going through all this emotional neglect and panic attacks, anxiety. I don't even know how I got through school, if I'm honest, because I just wanted to run away all the time. And, you know, the teachers was like, what's wrong with her? And I was like, I just need a minute. If I need to run, I need to run out. And then I'd like developed this phobia of sickness. And it was, I think it's a lot more complex of what that actually is, of anxiety and so on. But anyway, 2014, I accepted that I was gay. And I asked one of my gay best friends to go for a drink with me. And I sat him down in Leeds, I remember. And I said, I need to tell you something. And I couldn't actually say the words out loud. I just couldn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't want to be, but I knew that I was. And I sat down and I said, I need to tell you something. And he went, all right then. And he put the drinks down, he's just staring at me. And I was like, you know what I'm going to say? I was like, and he went, so say it. And he was so good to me to just be like, he was waiting for me to say the words, but I was like, no, I need you to say it. And he was like, I don't know what you mean. Why have you brought me here? And he knew full well. And I was like, I said, I think I like girls. And he went, sorry, what? And I said, I think I like girls. And then he went, so you're a lesbian? I said, no, I'm gay. Anyway, we had a bit of a laugh about it. And then, yeah, my journey then just kind of opened up to this. I've accepted myself, who I actually am, and that took a lot of time. And obviously then unraveling that journey of my sexuality was also difficult, because I did have a companion, a male companion at that time, that I also felt really guilty again, because there was love there. There was this version of myself did love this person, but I knew deep down that that wasn't, that couldn't ever be. And then I felt really bad on that person. And I think that's why making sure that you, in schools, in our communities, that we accept people, because there are knock-on effects that if you are in denial, you then develop these relationships that you're not truly happy, and it is not fair on that person either. And happiness is really important, and understanding who you are, your identity, your sexuality, gender, that's really important.
I think that's so key to that's a simple question, right? Who am I?
Yeah.
Like, who am I? And in that, like, that sexuality side of it, now you look back, did you always know? I'm not saying that you were different, but that you were gay. Did you always know that? Or was it something that actually, with everything that happened, 2014, this huge moment, you're like, you know what, all this has happened, all this crap's gone on. Also, I'm gay. Like, I may as well just say it all out there. Like, what was it? What was it?
No, I've always known. I think, I mean, there's always that funny side where it's like you fancy your, like, female people and so on. And I'm like, I've always been gay. Yeah. But I've just never accepted it. And I was so scared to even say it out loud. And I was always that person that was like, oh yeah, he's fit. Just to overcompensate something that wasn't true. And even my best friends wouldn't even have known. Mm-hmm. And that was really difficult coming out to...
and is it because people had a judgment of what gay people were, or is that you thought people had a judgment, like being either homosexual or bisexual or whatever, that it was just not the thing? Or is it more of a I actually don't think I can be honest with the people around me.
I think there's that. I don't think that I knew anyone in the LGBT community when I was younger. Didn't really understand it or know. I was from a very small town, and there was one lesbian in my school, and people just weren't nice, really homophobic. And I think that definitely makes you very inwards, where you cannot come out as gay. And it was the same for a couple of other people at my school as well. But I do wish that there was something, a moment that would have perhaps inspired me or allowed me to accept who I really was. Because, I've definitely been gay or known about it, just very in denial.
So you've told your friend, but this is one person over a drink.
Yeah.
What do you do next?
I told my mum.
Right.
And my mum was the funniest. She went, cool. She was like, cool. I've never been scared to tell my mum. Like, it wasn't that. She never made anyone, none of my family members have ever made it difficult, and I'm really lucky in that aspect. So I know some people find it really difficult to open up to their families and be who they want to be. I've got a lot of friends that are still struggling, and it makes me really sad. So it was me that was actually just holding back for a long time. And I started to then gradually tell people, but I actually dated girls first because I wanted to make sure I'd never, kissed a girl properly or done anything. It was always this in denial person that was having boyfriends and, but not being true to myself. And then I gradually told my people. There was someone that I met actually at a conference that said to me, if you don't be who you are or come out to those people that don't understand the LGBT community, then how are we going to raise awareness about being gay and what that looks like? You can have this knock-on effect if you are just confident in who you are. And I was like, that's so true. I was like, I just need to be me, and then my friendship circle will then have that LGBT person. Yeah. And they will understand it. And I was like, oh my God, every time I come out now, I'm changing the world. So essentially, yes, you do have to come out a lot of the time. Even starting in this new school, you can just see the heads, their eyes go, oh, right. Oh, your girlfriend. Yeah, your girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my girlfriend. And I do struggle to come out to students still to this day. I think it depends. I did at my previous school, but I do think that it's difficult for teachers, and it's something that I would like to work on, because I think that it's right that teachers do. But there are some classes that I don't personally feel confident enough to be myself. And I think that's a problem.
And it comes down to the trust, the relationship, that thing that you've talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. If you can't trust people, how can you be vulnerable with people?
That's exactly it. And
It's so interesting. It's so deep as well. Yeah,
one of my best friends. We went to Amsterdam Pride, and there's a prominent moment in my head that had this like massive juxtaposition of like when I was a child and in denial, and then like who I am now, of me riding a bike down Amsterdam with my best friend, going, "I love being gay," like just both like cycling down the road and laugh at that. But yeah, I just think it's super important, and I think to share that story as well of accepting yourself and your sexuality. My goodness, I've never been so confident in myself since 2014.
There's nothing more empowering than being you.
Yeah.
And it's so simple.
It is, but it's not, but it is.
I know, and it's just so weird how the human brain is just like, and the culture we live in, like, I got told once by one of our ambassadors, Azim, he said, if you're not willing to call out your grandparents, you're not willing to call out anyone. Yeah. You know what I mean? But what he's saying is your family's the hardest, essentially, to be true to. Yeah. So how can you be true to anyone else if you can't be true? But then sometimes it's not safe. Yeah. So it's this.
It's really I feel like there should be a diagram. If any researchers are out there that have got a diagram of this complexity, that'd be great, because you can just see it visually of how difficult this is from one individual that's, wanting to be yourself, and it's always like, just be your true self, be this. You read all these great things, and then it's like, in the pit of your stomach, if you're not being true to yourself. And that's what I was doing in the gym. I was taking it out on the gym. I was taking it out on being better at everything else other than just actually looking at myself. And then that's when I went down the route of like, yoga, and I was all like, okay, I need to do this big breathe in, breathe out, right? Be rooted to yourself and really understand that. And that actually did help. There was someone really cool on YouTube that I just wanted it to just be me on my own, and that was it. In a room and just be as, well, connecting with myself, I suppose.
So let's talk about those distractions, or maybe not distractions, because you still go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
And you still do that. So maybe it's something you actually love but did it in a bad way.
Yeah.
But the gym, exercise, why do you love exercise so much? Has it always been part of you, and what does it bring to your life?
Yeah, exercise has always been super important. I think I've always been really sporty. I actually wanted to be an athlete when I was a kid, loved football, and then I was like, I can't do football because people might think I'm a lesbian. Right. And then that's so wrong. It's so wrong thinking back to it, because I do actually really enjoy football, and I stopped it because I didn't want anyone to think otherwise. And I hate that thought that I had, because it's homophobic on so many levels as well. But I did stop doing it. But anyway, that's where my sport journey started. And then I just found a love for the gym, and it was just releasing endorphins, the competitive sides with myself, where it was like, oh, I'm going to run this now, and I'm going to be better at that. I felt stronger. And then it just allowed me to then go climbing, go on nice hikes, really enjoy nature. And then I actually started football again, did netball at uni, and I've just then become like quite a sporty person, and I love the outdoors. So I think what exercise brings me now is you just switch off. And I think, now doing CrossFit, I've found this amazing community, a culture of happiness. We then go for brunch, and, it's really healthy now. I've got a really good, healthy relationship with the gym. However, on days that I do feel quite stressed, I can tell that I'm taking it out on the gym, and it's just recognising that, because there are times when I'll be doing a workout where I'm not actually being kind to myself. I'm doing that because I'm frustrated.
Right.
And that's something that I still I'm trying to combat at the moment, where am I doing this because I feel like going to the gym today and I actually want to work out, and it fits my program for my training and potential competitions, or am I doing it because I'm not actually being kind right now? And I do think that there's a culture of over-exercising and people not being kind to yourself because you have to go, you have to look a certain way. If I don't go, oh my God, I ate this, so I need to go. I have to do this, otherwise I won't get the abs or the muscles that I want. And I have gone through that journey, and it's not healthy, it's not kind, and it's not okay. So it's just recognising that and thinking, right, let's have a healthy relationship. Absolutely killing yourself in the gym every single day is probably not a healthy relationship you want to have, but just doing it in a way that's going to make you feel stronger, feel better, feel confident in yourself and perform better, I think it's amazing. And it is a hobby of mine.
It shows that no matter how good something is, if you have an addictive behaviour towards it, for good or for bad, it can become negative for your life.
Yeah.
And I think I see so many people. So I also nowhere near the standard that you, although I did rupture my Achilles doing box jumps and CrossFit in November, which is good fun. But it is so great, the fact that with CrossFit it's competitive, you're in a team environment, it's gymnastics, explosive, it's power, it's strength, it's flexibility. It's different every day. It's great, right? It's wonderful, and the power of movement and exercise is scientifically proven to be good for your life, right? But if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it can have the negative effect of that, the opposite effect of that. I think it's so interesting what is your reason towards why you do what you do?
Yeah,
and that has such an important role to play.
And it's definitely recognising if it's that negative or if it's the positive, and it's just looking within yourself and thinking, why am I here today? And there's some people that need it for health reasons. It definitely saved me from a well-being point of view and health before getting too destructive, if that makes sense. Because I definitely could have gone a completely different way if it wasn't for fitness.
But if you don't give yourself the space to contemplate and to reflect on that. And I'm guilty of this, because you think, I've got no time, I've got 2 companies, I've got this going on, I've got that going on, I've got my family to see, actually, I need space to be able to reflect on where I'm at, why I'm doing what I'm doing. If you don't give yourself that present moment, then that can be really unhealthy. So for you to be able to give yourself that space, I think that's just so empowering.
Yeah.
And really, really special. So where does your journey go from there?
So from there, I then graduated in 2016. I then ran for president at my university, not America. And then I served at Chester Students' Union for 2 years as president. Loved that job, just public speaking. There was loads of things that you could have a greater impact through LGBT communities, Black History Month, domestic violence, emotional abuse, and it was all this like I can definitely help students and create an impact within education, and then also give people a good time as well by making people feel confident at uni, and that was really great. I really enjoyed that. And then I got sponsored to do my MBA. So I've always had a little bit of a business head, because my dad's got his own business, and I obviously saw how hardworking he was. So in the back of my head, I have always had a little bit of an idea to support people that are feeling lonely, and how important social prescribing is for people like my mum, for example. Call me naive. I do believe that she would feel a whole lot better if she was part of recreational groups. So doing a lot more activities and actually making sure that she feels part of a group. Some people like her. And I think that there's a massive gap of how we can bring people together. Whether it is that people are schizophrenic, or if you are just your average person that is actually feeling a little bit disconnected with the world. So I've always had a little bit of an idea, but always been super scared to even start that journey, which is why I think people like you are so inspiring, that you've just done it and you're actually creating a massive change for people, and you're changing the world, essentially. Each individual at a time with their stories, which is really cool. So I've still got that on the back burner, but then But you got an MBA? Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Amazing. So a year and a half, 2 years?
That was in 2018.
So 2018, got your MBA degree.
Yeah, so I was working at the university, and then I was doing my MBA, and then I was actually doing personal training and working at Health Watch.
Okay.
Which then I was kind of in this, what do I do with my actual career now that I've been president for 2 years? Like, God, that was a cool job. What am I going to do now? I was like, right, I've gone from president, and what am I going to do now? So I was then obviously trying to go towards, I was debating between politics as well, but I had a really negative experience and decided against that I couldn't cope with everyone that I needed to save. So, and there was a lot of backlash with the competitors, and it was just a really nasty game. So my aspiration to becoming a local MP, that went down. Didn't fancy that anymore. And then I decided to have a little look around what was gonna allow me the space and my workplace to help other people. So I worked at Health Watch whilst doing my MBA and being a personal trainer. And then I decided that personal training wasn't a career that I wanted to take for different reasons. I'm not a psychologist, and people have a lot of things that they talk to you about, and I just didn't feel qualified enough to have those conversations about the way that they look and perceive their bodies. It just made me feel sad, if I'm honest, so I decided to give that up. That was my reason why. But I still loved it. I still started doing just normal like fitness classes for community gyms, and so I love that. I just think it's great. I'm like, okay, and everybody, 1, 2. I still do fitness classes now, and I still do bits of like one-to-one, but I keep it very, this is your program, this is what's going to help you feel good, and just follow it this way. So I'm very particular with that, but it's not to say that personal trainers aren't amazing. I think that they are. I think it's a great career. So anyway, I decided against that. And then I was, once I'd graduated from with my MBA and working at Health Watch, I just wasn't really sure where the career was going. I've always had in my head that if you go to university, you know, you've got to be a doctor, a lawyer or a teacher. And my undergrad was education studies with drama. So I started to fulfill my teaching career and then became a teacher in 2019, 2020. And so teaching for 3 to 4 years and loved it, burnt out a little bit, actually decided that I don't want to be a teacher anymore last September. And then I worked for a private company who for about 6 months, and they lost funding for my role. So now I am teaching in schools and deciding what I want to do fully, which is actually now like a career thing of, do I want to be a teacher and progress, or where else am I going to go? And it is ultimately like, do I want to help people and how can I be kind to myself? Which is where a lot of my research now is on staff health and wellbeing within the public sector, because being a teacher is hard. And it's an educational system problem, not a school problem, not a head teacher SLT problem. It is the educational system. And the same with nurses, police. I think public sector, it's a really difficult job to be in when you've got that satisfaction. You've got the purpose there. It should be this amazing job, and it really, really is. It just comes at self-sacrifice. And that's something that I can't do to myself anymore. And that's what my gut is screaming out. So even though I'm currently teaching at the moment, because any other career, I'm just not sure. It doesn't give me that like nice bubbly warm feeling, whereas teaching does. And it's a shame that it's not sustainable, and it scares me to go fully into it as much as I did 6 months ago.
So you're at a point where you're kind of, I like to think of it as like you're in it's another transition phase. Mm-hmm. It's another crossroads in your life. But whilst you're teaching, you're doing something that naturally you enjoy, something that you kind of got the space to think about what's going on and what your next steps are. So you're not going to force anything. So you're not like, right, I'm definitely going to try, I don't know, to be a judo teacher. I have no idea where I'm going with this. Or to start a business that you don't feel is right.
Yeah.
You're going to have that time to give yourself that time. Now, have you put yourself a goal? Is it, I've given myself a year? Are you looking that far ahead, or are you just going, you know what, I'm just going to feel the feels, see where I'm at, and something will change and I'll just keep exploring? Like, where are you at and how are you going to change that?
I think it's having that mental battle with myself where I've got a great education and I'm so lucky to have that education, and I'm thinking really positively about that. There's one of two ways that you can, when we talked about this scale of kindness and how we see the world and the world sees us and so on, is that I could look at it in a way that I've got all these great qualifications and what am I doing? You know, where am I? Why is the world not giving me what I want to? Why am I not on this top end job and being this big successful person? Did you know that I ran for president? Did you know that I've done this? Did you know I've got this? Blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, it's me that's then holding myself back to do the things that I really want to do. And it goes back to, you know, the childhood of not feeling good enough, that imposter syndrome, and that's something that I'm currently fighting with. So I do have this conversation with my girlfriend at the moment where I'm constantly saying, you know, I need to be doing this, need to be doing that. And it's reminding myself that no, just remember what happened last time. You know, that happened, that you've got to be working 100 miles an hour. And anyone that knows me is like, Shez, just calm down. And it's like, yeah, and I am. And it's working wonders. I feel chilled in myself, and I'm just saying it's okay where I'm currently at. And the opportunities that are coming my way, again, I know how lucky I am. There's a lot of great roles that have been thrown at me to apply for and go for, and it is just me being kind to myself and saying, what do I actually want and where am I now? So I have a bit more of like a 6-month plan and then another 6 months, and it just depends because I need to actively put myself out there a little bit more. But right now I'm actually enjoying teaching again.
Okay.
I'm really enjoying where I'm at. So we'll see up until the 6 weeks holidays. And I've got a couple of things that I could apply for if I want to go down that avenue.
Okay.
But it's listening to myself and what it is that I want. And it's okay if I do apply for a teaching role. I'm not going to be really hard on myself. Like, I can't believe I've gone back into teaching. It's not sustainable for me, but that's okay. I've had a very open conversation. It's making sure that you communicate so that you don't have that guilty feeling either. Because if I don't tell the head teacher where my head's at or the challenges that I'm currently facing, then how do I expect to work and for them to understand? So my answer to anyone is, honestly, be honest to yourself. Make sure you understand what it is that you actually want and communicate that. Because if you don't, I know it's simple, but if you don't, you will get that guilt. You will see the world that, oh, why are they acting like this with me? They don't understand what I'm going through. Like, no, you just got to tell them. And then, opportunities will come. I've just been open and honest from day one there. So.
If I was to ask you what your reason for being is, or your purpose to life, or, what Cherelle Mitchell's, core belief is, would you have an answer for that?
It's very philosophical and something I ask myself most days. But I do think that there's this element of, what is our purpose? Right. Society tells us what our purpose is, and shut up. It's like, you've got to do this by this age, you've got to do that, you've got to make sure that you've got kids at this age. Oh, but you're gay, so how are you going to have kids? I'm like, right. Slightly homophobic, but this is how we could have kids. And then, it's almost like you're justifying. And I think your purpose is just living and being. And that's all it needs to be. You're breathing, great. And there isn't much purpose, but you've got to find your purpose. And finding that purpose that's deep within you will bring happiness and joy and give you a sense of belonging in a place that you are. And those are the small steps that you've got to take. It's like I've just moved house and, I couldn't buy closer to Manchester because it's extortionate. Yeah. So I made a sacrifice of, my community that I'd built up in Manchester, which I absolutely loved and I still miss now. It's really difficult to have moved away from, my people. A gym that I loved going to, the spoken word poetry nights that I loved in Manchester, all of that I can't really attend as much anymore. But I've got two beautiful dogs. We're literally by the countryside. We go on amazing walks and we can just get the train into Manchester. So it's all worked out for the best there. I've kind of gone off track from where you've mentioned about purpose, but it's building your own community, your own foundation, so that you can live in a world that you love and can just appreciate. And that's something that I need to remind myself most days of, the things that I appreciate, instead of dwelling on, oh, I really miss this in Manchester. Oh, God, I wish I could do this. No, look at what I've got here. Look at what's right in front of you right now. Not what anyone's doing on social media, because sometimes that can be really difficult. And, when you're thinking about things that you could have or should have, it's, what is it that you're going to remember or be proud of? And I know that when I'm on my deathbed, I'll be proud if I've had those experiences with the people that I love. I'll be proud once I've actually kicked myself up the arse and made a difference of what I really want to do. That'll be something that I would regret. And I know that. So I will make progressive steps to make something happen once I'm in the right headspace. And right now, that's not the right time for me to do that. But there will be a time that I'm ready and I will do it. But it's just waiting for that and making sure that I'm happy where I currently am and appreciating that right now, living in the moment.
Being present, special, right?
Do you know what? It genuinely is. And there was a guy that I actually met. It was just before I did my MBA, someone in Chester. And it was the first time that we'd met, and we both had the same belief system of, we wanted to help people, we wanted to make people feel better in themselves. And I was volunteering for this charity, which was acceptance and commitment therapy. And it was people that were going through cancer, anyone that was affected by it essentially. And I feel that training could actually help anyone in the world as individuals, just to accept anything that you're going through, and then you just change your mindset. You know, you are not your mind. So anything that your mind's just telling you, you know, anything negative or anything that's like, you know, you don't look good today, or you're not this, you're not that, you're not better. It's like, you are not your mind.
Bigger than your thoughts.
Yeah. Anyway, I met this guy, and he basically, we just had this weird moment, and we didn't even speak to each other. And he just said, "Can you feel that?" And I was like, it's a bit weird. And he was just so present, and it's almost that we'd both overcome something really big, and we were both in the same room, and we just felt the same like weird connection. And I still think about that now. And he said to me that being present is the biggest saviour. And I was like, that's really interesting. And I know what he meant now. And at that point I knew what he meant, but I think I just understand it even more now. That if you're not present, you genuinely are going to be self-destructive. And I think that all meant that, you know, you look within yourself and you genuinely are present, you're rooted, you're connected to yourself. And that will allow you to connect with others, understand others, allow people to understand you. And I've met people that I can just tell they just need some help, or need to just get some sort of therapy to understand themselves a little bit more. And that's where then you can either try and help other people in that sense.
I practice Nichiren Buddhism, and anyone who listens to the podcast knows that I practice Nichiren Buddhism. But one of the things that's really special is that often we talk about the past and we talk about the future. So there's this concept there. If you want to know about the past, look where you are right now.
Yeah.
If you want to know about the future, dig beneath your feet to see what causes you're making right now. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that matters is the present.
It's now.
You know, and that's the power of now. Is simple, but it makes you feel connected. And when you feel connected, there's nothing you can't achieve.
Yeah.
Right? It's special.
Yeah.
Because you're connected with other people, you're connected with the world around you. It's like this, you're not, isolation. You talked about it, you know, social prescribing, and isolation, in my opinion, is one of the worst things anyone can go through.
Yeah.
You know, like Gandhi said that the death of a human is not the real death of a human. The death of a human is when you lose hope. Because once you've got no hope, you feel isolated and lonely. And when you're isolated and lonely, there's no point in living.
Yeah.
And it's that, like, if you feel connected, that empowerment and being kind to yourself and to others it's special, but simple.
Yeah.
But hard.
That's it. It's honestly, it's complex, it's difficult, but it should be simple. Mm-hmm. And how can our society, make it simple for people to understand? And it is having those practices, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's knowing what's right for you, what is going to work for you to find you.
Because we've got so many distractions in life that take us away from that. I mean, the power of paper. Look, A4 piece of paper, got nothing on it, means nothing. A £5 note or a $1,000 check, it's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But it means something.
Yeah.
And it instantly changes the way you look at something, just from a materialistic thing. So there's so many distractions. Shopping, great example. Oh, you know, we're not going to talk about that. You know what I mean? But anything, like a big house, a car.
Yeah.
But your perspective on that thing is so special. So I think we've got to the present day.
I know, we have.
And we get into the quick-fire questions.
Oh, forgot about these ones.
But before we get to the quick-fire questions, how do people find out about you, what you're doing? Do you have a website, a social media page? How can they find out more about what you're doing?
I have a secret website that I've not actually published. That's that business idea I told you about, which I'm not going to say. Okay. But my Instagram that I tend to use, and still trying to navigate what it is that I actually want to show, is CLM_wellbeing. I try to put some teacher practices on there, some things that I do to just help by basically doing like a small little personal blog. It's not got loads of followers or anything like that. That's not what it's about. I set it up during COVID to try and actually get people more active and then being kinder to themselves through yoga, through going on walks, and just actually thinking this routine's okay. So I just kind of try and practice what I preach and then post about it. So that's all I have, really.
So I'll be putting that onto the show notes so people can find out more about yourself. So, quick fire round. The way this is going to work is I'm going to start a sentence, you're going to finish a sentence. No explanation of anything needed. So it's literally start a sentence, you finish it, on to the next question.
Oh, I feel like I'm a student.
Right, there you go. Yes, the roles have reversed. I love it.
This is when the kids say it when I cold call them, isn't it? And I'm like, oh, no.
That's so funny. Right, so life is about?
People and connections.
True education can?
Give anyone opportunities.
Childhood should be?
A loving, strong foundation.
I think that.
Strong, yeah.
Education must?
Support everyone with equity and equality.
Family, I'm going to leave that one open. Family?
Are always there for you.
Love that. Because it doesn't always have to be blood either, so that's really, really cool. How much of where you're at right now is due to luck, and how much of where you're at right now is due to hard work?
I'd say 90% is due to hard work.
Okay. If you were to look back at your life and say the pre-2014 Cherelle, if you were to give one piece of advice, what would that be?
Be true to yourself.
I love that.
Genuinely.
Last question on the quick fire. If there was a Cherelle Mitchell rule, a government law, right? And it had to be implemented and you had that choice, what would it be and why?
So there's a law. My first thing that came into my head then is inappropriate and unprofessional. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Anyway, that could be a law.
Yeah, of course.
But no, I suppose...
I like that one, to be honest. Full stop.
Exclamation mark. It genuinely is, yeah. I think if there was going to be a law named after me, it would be accept who you are and go with it. It's that self-acceptance and being as self-aware as possible. Well, it starts with being self-aware to then accept.
I love that. So that goes through our quick fire questions. You survived, well done. Cherelle, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. Not even that, just for being you, for the 2014 moment, to be able to accept, like you have the self-awareness and to be able to make changes. A lot of people go through their life accepting that they are who they were when they were 16 and that they'll never change. And that's the way the world's been and that's the way the world will always be. You said, I'm not having that essentially, and I'm going to change for the better. Yeah. And even further, you've gone not just for myself, but for others. So thank you for doing that. You are incredible. What a human being. Like, you're amazing, mate. Special. You're really special. And I've got a feeling there'll be lots to come, hopefully, in the future. Even with Tales to Inspire and doing what we're doing. So, my last two questions, I've asked every Tales to Inspire ambassador. By the end of this year, it'll be 164 ambassadors. It's not quick fire, though. Yeah. So, the first question is, Cherelle Mitchell, what is your definition of the word inspire?
Definition of the word inspire is to bring opportunities to people to look within themselves and make significant changes, whether that be from personal, individual things that they know that need to either change or be fine within themselves, or if it's just looking for further opportunities to then smash it and go and get it.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And my last question, you kind of brushed on it already. If you were to look at your life from the end of your life, like you get to your 80s, 90s, 100s, wherever you're at, and you're looking back on your life, what is the proudest thing you want to have achieved during your lifetime?
To have made an impact with people that are suffering in silence.
I love that.
Whether that's just one person or multiple people.
There's your full stop moment. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that. I love that. That's an exclamation mark, actually. I absolutely love that. Cherelle, thank you so much for being on the Tales to Inspire
Thank you
podcast.
so much. Thanks, creation.
Thank you for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please leave a comment in the comment section below, and we cannot wait to see you for our next episode.